All right. Hi again. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about in Dreamweaver the Preferences panel, the Insert panel, Page Properties dialog, how to insert an image, basically. Look at the Properties Inspector and see what that does. Talk a little bit about HTML5 containers. Do a couple of links just to make sure we know how to do that, and then maybe a little bit with the intro, maybe a little bit with the CSS panel in Dreamweaver. So this is what we're going to make. We're going to start from scratch, almost. I will give you this image, or you can have this image. But we're going to make this silly little page about the main building at Mission College, and we'll make a second page that looks even more basic. Kind of looks like that's not the right one. This is it right here. Looks like nothing actually, but it's just going to link back to the first page. And then we're also going to take a quick look at Emmet, or try Emmet out in Dreamweaver. This version of Dreamweaver has support for Emmet, which is sort of a macro coding thing. So making a couple of pages with links and different sections of the page, and explore some of Dreamweaver. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going with that. So the first thing we need to do, of course, is define a site. Since we're going to be using images, Dreamweaver wants to have a site to be able to use. So we've probably seen this before, but I'm going to go to Site and New Site, and I'll call this page or site, just Site 3 or 4. How about 5? Hopefully I haven't used that one. And I'm going to pick the folder, and I have, it will provide a folder, or you probably have a folder to use for this somewhere, depending on where you look at this. But I'm going to choose this folder called Basic Page Video Start. So I'm going to choose that. And that's really all I have to do. I gave it a name. It doesn't matter what the name is again. And I picked the folder called Basic Page Video Start. And I say save, and hopefully if everything works right, you'll see a folder pop up in the Files panel. And there is only one file in there. It's not very exciting. It's just an image file that we're going to use, that I'm providing for you guys to use for this. And let's make our basic page first, because you'll see what the preferences actually do. I'm going to go to File and go to New, and I'm just going to make this a new document, an HTML document with no framework. It's just a plain page. So New Document, HTML, HTML5 doc type, and no framework, not the Bootstrap one. And then we click Create, and we get that. That's kind of what I wanted to see before I did this. The preferences for you. So here we've got a page. Now if yours looks different, this code view, again, you can set that up by going to View and do the split vertically or horizontally, and Design View on left or right. I don't really care what you do with that, but I've got my code view on the right and my design view on the left and the live view on the left. But back to the preferences, if I go to Dreamweaver CC and go to Preferences, which we did a minute ago, here's where I wanted to show you. If you go to fonts right here, we could change the size of our fonts in the code view. So I've made it kind of large already so you guys can see it. Maybe I'll even make it a little larger. How about 20? And then I click apply and it gets bigger. That's amazing, huh? How about 18? Let's do that. So that's where you can change the size of different fonts in your interface. Another thing to notice, or another preference to notice, is under File Type / Editors. That's where you can choose which applications you want to use to edit certain types of files. So the first ones here are image files. So if I click on PSD, it says Photoshop, in this version anyway, it's CC 2015. JPEG, it says 2015 is the primary. GIF, same thing, Photoshop CC 2015. If I click on PNG, I think the default is Fireworks, which I don't want to use. So if I want to make a different app the default editor for a type of file, I want to click on the extension right here, and then I want to click on the app I want to use, and then click Make Primary. That's all I'm going to do there. So that's what I wanted to show you there. There's obviously a lot of other different preferences that we may hit later. One that you might think about is your preview in browser. That's where you can add more browsers to preview your files with, and will show up under the preview button right here and other places. So that's possible. I think we've seen this before, but you can also preview using temporary files. So if you click on that checkbox, when you preview your file, it will make a temp file instead of saving your original. You won't have to save your actual file to to preview it. That way, if you decide you did a lot of things you don't want to do, you can go back and undo that. Or you've never done it. You actually never saved it. The other one I want to show you is code coloring here. So this version of Dreamweaver has different themes you can use. If you don't like this theme, I'm using Slate here. It's right up here at the top. You can change that to different themes. So if I select a theme and click apply, you'll see it changes color. And it's just for preferences. Some of them are light and some of them are dark. I'm going to use this Slate one, but that's why mine might look a little different than yours, because I picked this Slate theme. It's easy for me to see, but you can also customize a lot of these too. Actually, all of them, and make it your own. So that's what I wanted to show you in the preferences there. So I'm going to click apply. I already did, and then click close to get out of that. The next thing I wanted to show you is the insert panel. So we've got our page opened here. I should save this right away. So I've got Untitled 6 for some reason. I'm going to save and go to File and go to Save, and save this as page1.html. And I'm going to save it in the folder that I'm already in, which is the basic page video start folder. And then now it has a .html extension, and now I can see that file also in my Files panel over here. So I know I'm good. Alright, so now I want to look at the Insert panel. So the Insert panel is right here in my layout anyway. Again, if you want to reset your layouts, I'm going to go to Workspace, Layout, Default, and Reset Default, and it'll go back to my default layout with the DOM panel. But here is the Files panel, here is the Insert panel right next to it. So the Insert panel is how you can, guess what, insert stuff. Makes sense, right? So there's different categories here. There's HTML, there's form with different form elements. There's templates, which are built-in Dreamweaver templates, which not many people use, so we'll kind of gloss over that. There's also Bootstrap components in this version, which we will probably look at in a different video, but those are different parts of different elements you can use in Bootstrap, the Bootstrap framework. There's jQuery Mobile, which is another framework used for mobile web pages and even apps. And there's jQuery UI, which is for inserting interactive jQuery UI elements. jQuery is a JavaScript framework or library that you can use to add things like accordions and tabs and buttons and things to your pages. That's jQuery UI. You also have a favorites, which mine is blank, but if you right-click and go to Customize Favorites here, tells you what to do. You can add different objects and elements from the menus to your favorites insert panel. So if you wanted to always have something available in this list that you use all the time, you could add it to favorites. But we're going to go back to HTML, which is at the top here. And you can see there's a lot of different elements here. There's divs, images, paragraphs, headings, different levels of headings. Anytime you see the little arrow next to one of these options, it means that there are more things under it. So you just click and you get a little drop down. There's tables, figures, which I think we'll use for this, different kinds of lists, which we may or may not use maybe later, links. These are new, well, not new anymore, but these are HTML5 containers that are used on pages, and we'll use a couple of those. So those are there: header, navigation, main, aside, article, section, and footer. And then down here you have another category of stuff that goes usually in the head, like meta tags, keywords, viewport tag, scripts, JavaScripts, email links, things like that. And then there's even some interactive or more rich media, you might call it. Things like HTML5 video, HTML5 canvas, Edge Animate composition. Edge Animate is for doing sort of HTML5 animations. That's a different app from Adobe called Edge Animate. HTML5 audio, Flash, which is kind of fading away a little bit. Generic plugin, you could use that for a lot of things. And then a rollover image, which we probably will look at in another video as well. There's also inline frames, horizontal rules, dates, non-breaking spaces, and then this one is kind of interesting. This is special characters. So if I wanted to insert a special character like a copyright symbol, for example, I could just click on that and then click on that, and it just inserted that copyright symbol. I don't really want that, but that is what's underneath there. So quick way to get to some of the more common special characters there. So that I know that was very fast, but we're going to use this insert panel here in a minute. Before we do, one thing to notice, since I might not come back to it, is almost everything, maybe everything, almost everything in this panel here is also under this insert menu. So this is an insert panel, and there's an insert menu. They kind of do things redundantly a little bit. So under insert menu here, I've got the same kind of stuff: divs, images, paragraphs, different types of headings, tables, figures, headers, navigation, etc. Same stuff. It might be almost exactly the same, or even exactly the same. So that is also under there. So just be aware that there's more than one way to do things in Dreamweaver. For instance, there's two places to insert. Okay, so what we're going to do first is insert a div. So I'm already clicking in the design view now over here. I could do this in live view, but I think I'm going to use design. It might be a little easier to use here at this point. So I'm going to click on div. Actually, I'm going to do this a different way, and then we'll use the insert panel for the rest of them, just to show you that there's a lot of ways to do things. So I'm going to click over here in my design view, and I'm going to use my quick tag command or quick key, and it's Command T or Control T on the PC, and I get insert HTML, that little pop-up there, and I'm going to say div, which is a division, right? And then I'm going to keep typing ID equals wrapper in quotes. And then I hit enter on my keyboard, and what happened? It actually inserted a div with an ID of wrapper. I didn't have to type all the brackets and a couple things, and I didn't have to type the closing tag. So it automatically puts my cursor between the opening and closing div tags. Remember, a div tag is a generic container used on web pages. And then an ID is so I can access that element with CSS. So I gave it an ID of wrapper, which is a pretty common thing to do. This is going to be a div that's around our entire, all of our content, basically. So I wanted to show you that you could do that in the design view. I could have obviously typed this in the code view. We'll look at the code view in another video as well, I think. So I'm going to go and hit a couple of returns and then start inserting things to make our kind of generic containers for our page. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a header. So to do that, I can just click in between the ID or inside these two div tags, and I'm going to go to my insert panel. Let me double click to get rid of this DOM panel. I just double clicked on that to get rid of that panel or collapse it. If I click it again, it reappears. So I'm going to click on header here, and it says insert header, and you can do it at insertion point, before a tag, after a tag, different places. I'm just going to leave it at insertion point. You could also add a class to this if you wanted to, a CSS class. I could also add an ID to this if I needed to. I don't think I need to, so I'm just going to leave that blank and say OK. So there's my header tag, and it automatically creates the tag for you and then puts a little bit of content in there. It says content for new header tag goes here. That's helpful, right? So next we're going to add a header inside of there, header level 1. So I'm going to click on that, or I'll just click on that text. It's already selected for me, actually. And I'm going to click on heading here and go to H1. And all that did was it put the heading level 1 around the content that I'd already selected. So that's great, right? So what I'm going to type inside of there, since I'm already selected, I could either type that here, or I could type it here in the code view, either one. But what I'm going to type there is mysteries of the ancient, I spell ancient right, main building, I know that's not right, building by Mark Garrett. And I'll capitalize my last name because I'm important. Okay, so Mysteries of the Ancient Main Building by Mark Garrett. Yeah. Alright, so that's it. That's our heading level 1 there. I'm going to go after that heading now. We're going to come back and tidy this up a little bit later. And so I just click inside my code view, or I could click down below it here in the design view, either one. Well, actually, I want to probably do it over here because I might get it in the wrong position here. So I've got it in the header right after the header here, and I put another line break in there so I could skip around, skip below that. And I'm going to insert a nav element. So I'm going to go over to my insert panel and click on navigation. And I'm not going to do anything here as well. I'm just going to say OK, and I get my new nav tag there, and that's probably good for now for that. So now I'm going to click below that, go down below here, and I'm going to insert my main tag. So the main tag is for the main portion of your web page. So I'll just say OK. I just clicked on main over here to do that. Nav obviously is for navigation. Header, you probably figured out, is for the top of your page very often, or the top of a section, and it's for heading, for header type information, or banners, or mastheads if you want to call it that. So there's main. So inside main, I'm actually going to insert a couple of things. So I'm going to insert a article tag. So I'm just going to leave that selected and click on article here and say OK. And now I've got an article tag that went inside of main since that was already selected. Now inside of that article tag, I'm going to add 2 section tags. So I can just not do anything as far as selecting and click on section. And then I do need to go outside of this section tag to put one below it. So I'm going to click after this section, hit return on my keyboard, and then insert another section. So I've got a main here. You can see one of the cool things about the code view is if I select a tag, it selects the opening or the closing tag as well, or shows you it anyway, highlights it. So you can see what is inside of what. So you should have a main section, an article section, or a main tag, an article tag, and then 2 sections inside of the article. And then below main, I'm going to go below main, and I'm going to add a footer inside of there. So I'm going to click on my footer here in the insert panel and add a footer at the bottom of the page there. So there's my footer. Everything is inside of my wrapper. Here's my wrapper. You can see over here as well, when I select these, it gets kind of highlighted there in the design view. If I go to live view, it does the same thing. If I click on the wrapper, you'll see the wrapper is outlined there. It even shows the ID right there. There's the header. There's the lav, h1, etc. So I'm going to go back to the design view. Okay, so that's great, right? So now we want to, let's add a couple of styles to this without having to code anything really, by using the page properties dialog. So I'm going to go up to modify and page properties, and you'll get this dialog. This is a little bit of vestigial dialog, meaning it's a little bit old, and I don't know if a ton of people use it, but it is pretty convenient to quickly apply a few styles to your page. So all we're going to do to this is change a couple of things so you can see how this works. We're going to be under the category Appearance CSS. I'm going to change the page font to, I think we're going to change it to Consolus. So I just clicked on page font and changed that to Consolus. I'm going to click on background color and just pick a color, kind of a light color. Doesn't matter what it is for our purposes. I'm going to pick this kind of light beigey thing here. So as soon as you click on this background color swatch, you get this little pop-up. You just drag to where you want, drag this slider to wherever you want for the hue, for the basic color, and then pick your actual tone here, and then just hit enter on your keyboard, and it will import that or use that color. I also can change the appearance of headings here. So I have a heading level 1 there that we put in, so I'm going to click on headings here and change the heading color by clicking over here. So I'm on the 4th category here. I'm going to click on heading 1 and pick a different color, like a green or something. Kind of a dark green. No reason, just trying to get show you how you can change that color. I could change the font here as well. If I click here, or the size, I'm going to click on the heading font right here, and I'm going to choose, let's choose, I don't know, impact for this one. I'm going to click apply, and you'll see all those changes will take place. That impact is not looking great, so I'm going to choose instead this Segoe Verdana sans serif one, the one above impact, and I'll apply that. Sure, that's fine. Looks like Trebuchet actually, which is in that list, I think. Yeah, Trebuchet right there. Okay, so that is fine. I can click apply to see all that. So what we did again is we changed the page font here under appearance CSS, and then we changed the background color to something, and then we clicked on headings here and changed the heading font and the color for the heading level 1, so it's different from the rest of this text. The rest of this, you can obviously change the links color here where it says link CSS. I should show you this tracing image is kind of interesting. If you click on tracing image right here, you can click on browse, and what it will do is bring up a dialog where you can add a tracing image to your page. What does that mean? That means it will show, you can use a comp that you have made for the page or a mock-up for the page, and it will show in the background here. I don't really have one for you to use, but what it's used for is to be able to see kind of what you think your layout was going to be, and it's kind of like a background image. It's not going to show up on your page though. It's only used during production. It's not on your actual web page. It's just here inside of Dreamweaver to help you see what's going on. You can adjust the transparency as well. I don't have one for you for that, but that's what that is. So I'm just going to say OK, and we're done with that. So if I look up here in the head now, look what Dreamweaver did. It added a style tag for you and created these embedded styles using changing the font family here, changing the background color, changing the color of the headings, and then changing the font for the headings, and then changing the color of the heading level 1. All that was done automatically when we went to that modify page properties dialog. So that's pretty cool, right? Didn't have to code any of that. You could obviously code all that by hand if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. All right. So now that we've got our elements kind of in there, we're going to insert a few things and try out a few other different little items. So I'm going to go inside of my nav here. Here's my nav section. And I'm just going to, I can just type it here actually. I'm going to say Mission College. Spell mission wrong. And then I'm going to put a space and then the pipe symbol, which is up near your delete key, and another space, and then page 2. This is just a super basic navigation bar. We wouldn't probably use it this way, but just to get it working and show you how links work, we're going to add that in. So I typed this right into the design view. You could have obviously typed that right here into the code view as well. Either one works fine. Okay, so now that I typed that stuff into the nav, I'm going to link that Mission College text there to the Mission College website. So what I'm going to do now is go to Window and show Properties, and I'll get my Properties window to show up. And for some reason it showed up in the middle of another screen. Interesting. But to redock this on the bottom where I usually have it, I'm going to drag it down here to the bottom of the document window, and then it docks there. So there's my Properties panel. And the Properties is context sensitive. So what that means is anytime you select something on the page, if you look down here, it's not changing too much because it's just text, but it will change what is available in the Properties panel. There's also two sections that you should probably notice. One is called HTML and one's called CSS. There's a little overlap between those. It's a little strange how it's kind of probably should be revamped a little bit, but you'll get the hang of it. So if I'm on the HTML part or tab of the Properties panel and I select that text, under here under link, I can put in the link to Mission College. So I'm going to go copy and paste that link real quick. Be back in 2 seconds. All right, I'm back. You could type it as well, obviously, but I didn't want to type for some reason. But you can obviously copy and paste into here. So I pasted the link to Mission College right here under link in the Properties panel, which is pretty cool, right? And then you can just add that link that way. And I want to open this in a new window. So I'm going to click on where it says target. There's a little drop down here. I'm going to select blank. And that adds the blank, or target equals blank attribute to the link. And now that link will go to Mission College. If I save this now, we can go ahead and save this. And I'll preview it by clicking on this little preview button. And I'm going to preview mine in Firefox. Again, you can set that up in Preferences. Here's the page. I just previewed it. Here's the link. And if I click on it, it does go to Mission College. So that's pretty cool. All right. So the second one we're going to do, or the second thing we're going to do, is make a link to our own page. That's how you can make a link to an outside link, obviously. So we're going to make a link to our second page, but we need a second page, right? So this time I'm going to go back to my Files panel, right-click on the site folder, and say New File. And I get a new generic blank HTML file. The name of it is already highlighted here. I'm going to call this page 2 because I have no imagination. And then I hit enter on my keyboard to accept that name. And then I can just double click it to open it. And there it is. It's a super boring page with nothing on it. So all I'm going to do here is go over to my design view and type, this is page 2. And then I'll hit return, which adds a paragraph tag, and I'll say go back to page 1. Alright, so I want to format these just a little bit just to show you how this the properties panel works in this case. So if I select this is page 2 text. Again, I just hit return or enter, and then I get paragraph tags from that. But I could change that by going down here to the format area of the properties panel, and I'll select heading level 1 instead of paragraph. And now it's a heading level 1. You can also do the same thing up here under format. If you click under format and then go to paragraph format, you can select headings there, or a paragraph, or nothing, or pre-formatted text. So if I want to change it to 2, I could do that, or change it back to heading level 1, I can do that. So that is pretty cool there. A couple places to do that. We're going to talk about text, I think, more in another video, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But I do want to link this page back to page 1. So I'm going to select this text that says go back to page 1. Here is my link input down here in the properties panel again. Now I can link by using my pick whip if I want, since this is a local file. I click on this little, looks like a crosshairs, and I can drag up here to page 1, and now it's linked to page 1. Right there, you can see it's linked to page 1. Another way to do it, if I just select that and delete it, another way to do that is to click my Browse for File button here. And then it opens my Finder or my operating system, and then I'm going to go to page 1 this way. And it's the same, whoops, didn't work that time. Let's go. Page 1. Something's amiss. I'm going to do it the way I just did it a minute ago, but it should work that way. Something might be up with my files right now, but we'll see. Okay, so that actually should be fine. Now we've got a page 2 that is really bad, but you can see how that works. So to link again, you can either type the link in right here. You can use the pick whip to drag to any file you want over in your files panel. You could theoretically click the browse button and link that way. Another thing that's kind of interesting is if you click this little drop down next to the link field there, you'll get recent links there. So you could just, if you're using the same link a lot, it will show up in that little dialog, so that's great. Alright, so back to our main page here. Back on page 1. Alright, so I'm back on my main page here. I want to link to page 2, so I'm going to select page 2 there on the main page there, and then use my, let's try the browse again. I'm going to click Browse for File, and then link to page 2, and that actually worked that time. So that's great. Okay, so a couple more things we want to do here. I want to insert a figure with a caption and an image real quick to show you how that works. So I'm going to select where it says content for new main tag goes here. We're actually in this first section area. And I'm going to go back to my insert panel and click on that, and then I'm going to click on figure. And what that does is it inserts a figure tag, and it says this is the content for the layout figure tag, and then it also inserts a caption, fig caption tag, which goes inside the figure. These are HTML5 tags as well that are used for figures or images. Figures are illustrative types of images. So once we have that, I'm going to insert an image. So this time I'm going to select the text that says this is the content for layout figure tag, and I will click on up here where it says image. And you have an image inside of your folder called S1, 501, etc., etc. And this should be the only one in there. I'm going to click on Open, and it inserted that image for me. You can see it put in the image tag, it put in the source, it put in the height and width, and there's a blank alt attribute in there as well. So I wanted to do that so I could show you what the properties panel looks like when you select an image. So here I've got my image selected in the design view and in the code view here. Down here in the properties panel, there's all kinds of different things in here than we saw before when we selected text. I could give an ID to that image if I needed to do that. Here's the source. If I wanted to change that source, I could use my pick whip here and drag to my files. I don't have another source, but if I wanted to change it, I could drag over here and pick a different one. I could add a class to it. There's a bunch of ways to edit it here, which we'll go over, I think, in another video. But what I really wanted to do here is I wanted to go over to the alt panel here, or alt field, and add an alt. I'll call this old main room. And hit enter on my keyboard, and now I put that in right here under alt, but it also put it in the code under the alt attribute, which you should have on every image. And so that's how that works. So just wanted to show you that depending on what you select, you see how the properties panel changes. If I select my heading 1 up here, now it says heading 1, and I get some different options there for formatting. And then if I click on my image, I get a completely different set of possible settings for an image because it's a different type of information. Okay, so I think that's good on that. I'm going to take out this first sentence here. This is content for new main tag goes here. I'm going to delete that. I should just selected it and deleted it. So now it just says this is the content for the layout figure tag. I can probably take that as well. I'll just have the image in there inside the figure tag. So here's my section tag. Here's my figure tag. Maybe I'll make that a little bit more easy to see. There's my figure caption tag. That's where you put your caption. Here's the end of the fig caption tag. Here's the end of the figure tag that it's in. And then here's the end of that section. So here we have the second section. Just wanted to show you one last thing. I'm going to save this real fast in case something bad happens. Just go to save here. And then I'm going to select this text that's in here, and we're in the second section here where it says this is the new section tag goes here. It's the last one here. It's easier to see in the code a little bit. And I'm just going to type the word lipsum and then hit tab. And if that works for you, this is new in as of this video. It's new support for something called Emmet, which is here's Emmet here. Emmet is a plugin sort of for editors that allows you to do sort of macro coding. So what we did just there, and there's more to Emmet than just that, but what it allows you to do is type sort of abbreviations for things, and then it'll fill it in according to what you type. So let me do that again. I'm going to delete all that text there. Click inside of that last section, type lipsum, hit tab on my keyboard, and it automatically creates lorem ipsum text, which is basically placeholder text for layouts. It does a lot of other things too. You can write code with it as well. Sort of a power user kind of coding thing that you can do. But I just wanted to show you that real quick in case you wanted to use that sometime soon. The last thing I wanted to show you super quickly is the CSS Designer panel, which we will look at in another video. But what I wanted to show you is if I click here on my page and I can use my tag selector, which we have seen down here at the bottom, I'm going to select my wrapper, which is my container that we made first, the div that we made with an ID of wrapper at the very beginning. I'm going to click over here to CSS Designer panel, and I'm going to go up to where it says selectors right here. I'm set on the all mode here, and it says sources, all sources. We can leave all this alone, hopefully. I don't think it's changed from what you have. And then, but what I want to do here is I want to click on this little plus here, which creates a new selector or new CSS selector. And you can see since I had the wrapper selected, it automatically uses that as my selector, which is good. That's what I wanted. So I can edit that if I needed to, but I don't really need to. Here's all my other CSS styles that were input earlier when we did it using the page properties panel. So those are all in there too. But I'm just going to hit enter, and now I've got a selector for wrapper. And what I'm going to do is go down to where it says properties at the bottom, and it may have this button that says show set checked for you. If it is checked, go ahead and uncheck that. And then over here is the fourth column over. It says background. We want to just change the background color of the wrapper there. So I'm just going to click on that. And then where it says background color, I'm going to click on the little swatch, and I'm just going to choose white. So I just click on the same way, right? I click on the little swatch. I get this pop-up color picker. I'm going to slide up here to the corner, which is white, and then hit enter on my keyboard. And now this is white. One more thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of padding to that container. And so I'm going to go to right here to the first section, which is layout, and then down here where it says padding, it says set shorthand. I'm going to click there and put in 10 px, which is 10 pixels. And now I've got 10 pixels of padding in there. So I'm going to save that and see what that looks like. And I'm going to click on, so just to backtrack a little bit, I clicked on wrapper here, I clicked on background section here, and then I clicked on the background color swatch and set it to white, like so. And then I clicked on this first button, which is layout. I went down to the section that says padding, and I typed 10 px for 10 pixels. If I look at my code now, you can see that it's added 10 pixels of padding for the wrapper. Here's the wrapper selector, and there's the background color for white. That's more than one way to do white, but you get the idea. So if I preview that now, I'll go to down to my preview button, preview in Firefox. Here is my page in Firefox. It's not a great page. For instance, the text does, or the image doesn't resize, and it doesn't have any width or anything, but just for our purposes, it's okay. If I click on this link here, it goes to the Mission College website, which we wanted. If I click on this link here, it goes to page 2, which we made, and then I click on this and it goes back to page 1. And I think that is it. So, and I believe that is it for this video, so I will talk to you next time.